Welcome to Strictly Facts, a guide to Caribbean history and culture, hosted by me, Alexandria Miller. Strictly Facts teaches the history, politics, and activism of the Caribbean and connects these themes to contemporary music and popular culture. Welcome, Strictly Facts fam, and welcome back to another episode. It has been an amazing ride so far, and I just wanted to check in, take attendance, and hold our very first review session. Just like in class before a big exam, except there's no exams here, of course, review sessions will be a regular part of our communal space and the history lessons we take together, where we'll check in with our listeners, see how you're enjoying the content, and get feedback on what else you'd like to hear moving forward. The first review session covers the importance of our voices in our histories. In just a few episodes, we virtually traveled from Cuba to Corn Island, Nicaragua, Barbados to the Carolina coast, Haiti to Louisiana, England, and even as far east as Chennai, India. In our very first episode, I discussed how oral storytelling is critical to our histories, both in my own life and in the fables, tales, and the lineage of many of our families. With our first guest, Melanie White, we traced interregional migration and we connected Caribbean lands by the movement of our people. I learned so much from Melanie's discussion of Corn Island, the importance of connecting parts of Central and South America to the Caribbean, and the significance of recognizing anti-Blackness in a Caribbean context. Episode 3 traced Caribbean movement primarily to the global north. I discussed the influence of the Caribbean in places like South Carolina, New York, and London, and that despite our contributions, these very integral exchanges of information, language, activism, and culture have sometimes been written out of the narratives of these places. And then, with the amazing Dr. Leah Khan, we discussed a series of Caribbean religions like Bondun, Kumina, and even Rastafari. Religion is a major part of Caribbean history that has both been used to subjugate our people and also espouse our own freedom despite colonial rule. In talking about Dr. Khan's book Far from Mecca, we learned about the long history and interconnectedness of Afro and Indo-Caribbean connections to Islam. From there, we had one of my favorite episodes so far with Dr. Joseph Farquharson, in which we discussed the politics of language and how oftentimes, when people discuss Caribbean languages, they have the wrong starting point. The key theme from Dr. Farquharson's talk is that language matters and is key to our growth as a people. When we start to fully appreciate our languages, as opposed to looking at them as secondary to the quote unquote major languages like English or French, we can build a more empowered society which will amount to a greater social, political, intellectual, and even economic possibilities for our region. And finally, Lauren Backus took our Caribbean style episode by storm. I can't wait to have her back. She discussed how colonial laws like the Code Noir and colonial expansion tried to dictate and limit Afro-Caribbean women's dress. I had so many takeaways from this discussion. First, that we should continually challenge what we consider as resistance. Enslaved women using the madras cloth to circumvent colonial rules and exude their beauty is indeed resistance and deserves to be recognized in our stories. And secondly, as Lauren so beautifully stated, we need to decolonize how we think of these traditional styles of dress to fully grapple with the terms of their legacies. I've so enjoyed creating this space with you all. If there's one lesson I hope you've gathered, it's that our history and our stories have often been told through foreign, often European eyes. And because of the color of those eyes, because of power dynamics, and because of the critical legacies of subjugation, enslavement, and imperialism, those stories have often been seen as the most accurate, although we obviously know that's not true. It is why, for example, as Dr. Farquharson reflected, languages in the Caribbean have been denigrated over English as a result of the power England has had and continues to have over our islands. We can go on and on citing examples, but what is clear is that the full truth has never been told. And that is exactly what Strictly Facts plans to do. We aim to present our history in the ways never taught to or presented to us before, by making our voices central, by decolonizing our stories, and of course, by infusing the influence of music and culture at all times. As a lover of history, I aim to make this space the enjoyable, inclusive history class I've always wanted for myself. As we continue creating content for you, our listeners, I have one major ask. We want to know what you all hope to learn, which guests you'd love to see, and what's resonated with you most so far. The lessons have only just begun, and we have more fire coming your way. So as we get to work, we ask you to fill out the brief survey linked in our show notes to let us know what you've thought. Thank you for always listening, for all the follows and all the love, and for joining us on this journey. In the meantime, be sure to catch up with the readings on our Strictly Facts syllabus, and we'll talk to you soon. More. Thanks for tuning in to Strictly Facts. Visit strictlyfactspodcast.com for more information from each episode. Follow us at Strictly Facts Pod on Instagram and Facebook, and at Strictly Facts PD on Twitter.